So I washed my car yesterday. Good morning, everybody. I'm gonna make some peppermint mocha today. Grounds and Hounds coffee. Pretty cool. This was the Jungle Gems find when we went down to when we came back through Cincinnati from Nashville for the Riff Tracks show. I'm like, ooh, a peppermint mocha. This would be nice. It's not one I've ever heard of before. I did buy a peppermint mocha once, and it was fine. Actually, it was kind of weird because it tasted like barbecue pencil shavings. You ever have that? Where you get one of those pencils, and for some reason, after you've, this is something we used to do, kids. We used to go to a pencil sharpener and sharpen our pencils. We'd stick the pencil in there, and then we'd sharpen the end of the pencil. Sometimes the wood would be weird, and it would kind of smell like barbecue chips, not like Lay's, more like Mr. B or Conn's. Because I think their barbecue chips tend to be a lot sweeter. Some barbecue chips are zesty. There's like the sweeter barbecue chips, and they would smell like barbecue chips. The pencils would. So when I would open up that bag, I mean, this obviously smells very pepperminty and mentholy. When I opened up the bag of the peppermint mocha that I had, it smelled like the pencils, and that is very off-putting. So, yeah, sometimes you get pencils that smell like wood, but sometimes you get those pencils, weirdly enough, would smell like barbecue to me. So, and I know that's kind of weird, but I am. So, for some reason, I am sweating to beat all hell. I don't know why. It is not intentional. I lost a bean, I think. Where'd it go? Where'd you go? Somehow they angle themselves underneath this cutting board, and I don't know how. 30, 31. There's probably a phenomenon associated with the wood smelling like barbecue on a pencil, or even your nose smelling barbecue chips when it comes to like peppermint mocha. I don't know. All I know is it was kind of an off-putting smell. If I had to talk about it. We're going to take this down. Now, I cleaned this out, and I'm pretty sure I've got it down to where it needs to be. Yes, I do. Okay. Sometimes it just feels so loose up here, it doesn't feel like I'm tight enough. I'm going to do a fairly coarse grind for these. Oh, there you are. You didn't go underneath. You just fell right off. And these are kind of dark. I don't feel like I need to spritz them. Because they've got some kind of coating on them anyway, because, peppermint is not a natural coffee flavor. Peppermint is natural, but it's not a natural coffee flavor. Back home we had, we lived on top of a hill, so there were a lot of valleys surrounding us, and behind the house, there was this valley that was just full of small little streams coming off of the hillsides. We weren't on the tallest part of the hill, but we were on a pretty tall part. So we'd have a lot of water coming out of the hillsides, especially wet weather. Wet weather would be rife with many little streams and creeks coming out of the hillside. But when we would go down and walk around along in the summertime, mostly in the spring, but also in the deep summertime, it never used to be as hot as it is now. I feel that back in the 80s and 90s, I feel like it was not quite as hot as it tends to get now. But we would walk along the trails, and all kinds of plant life would kind of grow around the stream. There were several pawpaw trees down there. Pawpaw is a fruit. It's almost like a banana, but it can grow in an Ohio climate, which means, it can live in the summer, spring and summer, develop fruit, and then go dormant in the winter without detriment to the tree, just like cherry trees and apple trees and plum trees up here. Pawpaw trees go dormant, but they come back and then they bear fruit. And the fruit, it could be that big, could be that big. We also had persimmon trees down there. But anyway, you'd walk along and you'd smell mint. That's where I was going with this. You smell mint, and you would just find the mint on the side of the walls of the streams, because the streams would get so full during the rainy seasons. It would carve like 3-4 feet out of the sides of the hills as it was traveling through the valley. So, and of course those valleys, a lot of them carved by glaciers back in the day, because they were very U-shaped. You know, they come to a point at the bottom and then they just go up the sides, and some of the sides were pretty drastic. So, so it's a really neat area to go hiking in. Beautiful scenery. I don't know how it is now. Back in the 80s and 90s, they used to keep everything mowed down because all of the gas wells were down along that area. And Granddad had a giant pump jack covered, I don't know, it was like almost half a football field long, maybe a little shorter, maybe like 30 yards, 35 yards long. And it had this giant, huge wheel in it that would pump a great big well, a gas well down there. It was all covered in tin to try to keep the rain out as much as possible. And that actually supplied gas for a lot of families up on the hill, because a lot of Granddad's family actually had lived on the hill. His oldest son lived to the bottom of the hill from him, and then of course Dad lived up on top of the hill. So there were a lot of people that kind of relied on that big well for gas. And my parents still rely on a gas well that's on their property in order to get gas. So they get free gas from a pump jack that's down over the hill from them. So pump jack, those things you see that kind of look like grasshoppers that kind of tilt like this. Anything filmed in like California, any movie that wants to show, that kind of California weirdness. I think Beverly Hills Cop, probably an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. If you're driving towards, LA, and you're watching the movie, and it's in LA, you'll see those big pump jacks. I think that's oil, though. I don't think that's gas. It might be gas. It could be a combination of a lot of different things. I just went off on a weird tangent. Sorry. To talk about the mint that we found alongside the road that would just smell amazing, and then you pick it off and you put it in your mouth and you just chew on it for like a good 5-10 minutes, and then you could spit it out after you're done. I mean, it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Okay, so one of the things that I brought back from my grandparents' house, other than the fruit juicer, is actually over there on the table. Let's go take a look at it real quick. A genuine canvas panel. Of course, this is not the painting. This is the back of the painting. Carl Stevenson, from 1968. Name of the painting, A Page from History. And this is the painting that I saw hanging over top of my grandparents' couch for the entirety of my life, both at the Marietta house and also at the Ocala house. And it just took me, it's a lot. There's a lot going on here, and I'll show you why. It's almost like fantasy, but, like it states down here at the very bottom, A Page from History. And of course, there's Carl Stevenson, 1968. But it's depicting Native Americans, indigenous Americans, attacking a fort. And not only attacking the fort, but succeeding in attacking the fort. Every horse is different. every character a character in their own right. What's interesting is you just see the muskets of the folks, except for maybe there. That might be a person, but you see the natives on the outside of the cabin so clearly. I just don't know if that was supposed to be a settler or a militiaman. But, you know, you just got these fantastic characters, these fantastic individuals fighting to reclaim land that was stolen from them here. I mean, look, he's got blue pumas on. You know, he's got blue pumas on. I wonder if those colors are actually colors that they could turn their moccasins into. That's a lovely thought almost, except for the fact that there's a war going on right out here. Oh, here we go. So we do have a military individual running away to get help, presumably. Drew the short straw, as it were, to leave the fort and head to get help. But I mean, you've got all of these trees, the flag, the fortification, you know, all of the trees that they cut down in order to make this monstrosity, to be honest with you, all being burnt to ash. I mean, to me, this is the painting that I grew up looking at and just focusing on, you know, the characters here. Mostly these two. I had to, you know, get up on the couch with my knees and just look. And it was just mainly these two characters that just, you know, just took me, you know, because it's like, look at them. They're doing what they have to do to get their land back from the colonizers that took it from them. It's just a gorgeous, to me, you know, art is in the eye of the beholder, you know, and to me, this is something that I've been staring at for nearly 50 years, hanging in my grandparents' house in their front room. I need to find a wall to put it on. I also need to clean up the frame a little bit. It's, I mean, it's old. It's never been cleaned. So there's spots on it that need touching up. I don't know if it's possible. It'd be something we'd have to look into. But yeah, so just a fascinating piece of history, even from 1968, that history of the artist doing this incredible piece that has been a huge part of my life for, like I said, 50 years. That painting has hung in various places, and it's just, I don't know, it's like a very visceral thing in an artsy way, you know. I mean, it's basically indigenous people trying to take the land back that was stolen from them from colonizing individuals, you know. So it's fascinating, and I don't know if a lot of those depictions show, you know, the natives winning as much as they were winning in that picture. So I'm gonna go about 400 here. And like I said, it's just something that's been on the wall of various, like, two separate houses for a very long time. And I was very fortunate that I was able to get that brought up here. Now the problem is I don't know where I'm going to put it. The frame it's wood, so, and I've got wood flooring here, so it could go over there on the blank space in the wall over there. I just don't know. We'll see. Yeah, 50 years that, I mean, 1968. I don't know if that's the date that it was purchased. I know that's the date that it was created. And I don't know, it's just this visceral, beautiful, act of natives trying to protect their home, that shouldn't have been put in that position to start with, but we had expansion that needed to be done, I guess. I don't know. History's weird. You wish it didn't happen the way it did, but it happened the way it did, and we're living the way we are now. So there's just a lot of, there's more, you can look back and be angry about it than there is, I'm kind of happy that I exist now. But, you can do that. Because you exist, you can look back and say, hey, that's awful and terrible, but you exist now and are able to look back and do that. So, So that's probably about as far as I would go with the wishy-washiness that is trying to be diplomatic. It's a big part of my life. Weirdly enough, it's a big part of my growing up and my existence. So, and my family, both on my mother and father's side, probably closer on my father's side because my great-grandfather was Cherokee. And then on my mother's side, I believe it was two greats. Great-great-grandfather was Iroquois, from Michigan. So, there's just a lot. And in between there's Eurotrash, floating around in there, So, but yeah, so there's Native American on, both sides of my family. We never really talked about it other than to bring it up. And I know my great-grandfather was Cherokee and great-grandmother was Irish and on my father's side. So, there's a lot of history both in the family and in Ohio with regards to Native Americans. I even think my Uncle Bob had a very dark complexion as well, but he was not nearly as... Yeah, it's funny because my Uncle Bob had jet black hair just like Granddad did. Granddad had jet black hair until he died. It had small little gray marks in it, I think when he turned 79 or something like that. He died when he was 81. But my Uncle Bob had jet black hair and a dark complexion. And my father has not bright, I guess red hair, like a light auburn hair, and the ghostiest of ghost complexions. He can't stand in the sun. He hates Florida, and the last time we took him to Florida, he wore a giant sun hat and had his arms and legs covered in long sleeve shirts and long sleeve pants, which is fine. If you're going to burn, don't burn. So he's just very, complected. And I'm white, very much so. And I think I share Dad's complexion a little bit. I freckle, though, when it comes to sun. And I got enough sun in Florida on my shoulders and my arms that I'm kind of freckling a little bit. So, yeah, it's weird. It's weird. We are a very diverse family, much like all of the other families that exist in this world. So, again, back to diversity. There's just so much going on with someone's family history. The idea of a white race is ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, so this is the Peppermint Mocha. It's a really nice smell. It's sweet. There's almost like a caramel smell to it as well, but it's predominantly peppermint, almost like a menthol-y kind of peppermint, which I prefer a strong, bitey kind of peppermint. This is just, and taste. I don't like weak tasting peppermint. Yeah. I missed sugarless coffee, and but that's my own fault because I should have just went with sugarless options. I should have just got a cup of coffee. But it's like vacation. You want to indulge a little. Well, I said vacation, and it really wasn't a vacation. And I said that yesterday. It didn't feel like a vacation. There were points where we were walking around and we could forget our troubles and the real reason why we were there for a minute or two. But in the end, burying grandparents and cleaning out their house, I didn't envy anyone that had to do it before, and I certainly don't envy them now, other than maybe taking a minute or two and finding little things that will help you best remember your grandparents. If you were on good terms with your family. You know, there are a lot of people out there that are not on good terms with their family for a lot of reasons. Not just stemming recently, but for a long time. Those people, I don't know, are you someone that's estranged from your family and had been for a long time, but finally found yourself back in their house for whatever reason? You know, maybe they passed away, and even though you had a falling out, you were still in the will in some way, shape, or form. And you know, now you're back in the house. And I mean, is there anything there that you would want as some kind of a keepsake? Or are you just happy that it's over and now you're just there to fill a dumpster? You know, I mean, there's so many different reasons. Oh, God, that's good. There's just so many different family dynamics, you know. Sorry. Like I said, it's raining outside. I washed my car yesterday. It was sunny and bright. I had to park in the shade as best I could. I even applied a little wax to it to make it look even nicer. And I love rubbing my hand against the paint and it not, and you know, I don't like, you know, it getting like stuck, like if you're going against like rubber. I have this stuff that just makes it so smooth you can just run your fingers over it and it doesn't stop you. Hopefully you understand what that means. It's really hard to explain, but I did that, and now it's raining, and I really need to go to the gym. Well, I mean, you wash it, but you know, it's inevitably it's going to get dirty. You just don't want it to get dirty the next day. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah, I bought some Stitch pins too. We went to Disney Springs and got a bunch of Stitch pins. I'm a big fan of Stitch. I love Stitch. Stitch is amazing. A wonderfully crafted, beautiful character. The voice just sends me every time I hear it. And is this upside down? I think this is upside down. Oh well, I'll flip it around. It'll be fine. So I thought this one was cute. It's a pretty little chrome one. I think this is a duplicate, but I couldn't not get it just in case it wasn't a duplicate. And then there's this one. Look at the sparkles. Oh, it just sparkles. It's just great. And then I think this one's more of a, like a Haunted Mansion interpretation of Stitch. Either that or like Snow White. Imagine the mirror, mirror on the wall being that. You know, and then, ta-da! So anyway, thank you so much for watching today. I think I'll have time on Tuesday to do a coffee. Our flight leaves at around 3:30 from John Glenn Airport. I'm gonna go pick Jonathan up, and then we're going to drive down to the airport. We both should have TSA pre-check. I know I do. Hopefully he does. I just remember the last time I went to the Columbus International Airport. Now I think it was on a weekend. I don't think it was during a weekday in the middle of the afternoon. So hopefully it won't be insane. But that TSA line that was just for non-pre-check folks, it was, if you got in the back of it, you were waiting an hour. And that's horrible. We got to where we needed to be to get on our flight. We had Matt and I have TSA pre-check because we have global entry. Because, you know, we started flying out of the country 2 years ago, so it's like we need global entry so we can get back in quickly. You know, that's ideal. And it was nice because the time we had to come back, all we had to do was look in the face of a thing and then be like, okay, you're done. So that was really great. Because we have TSA pre, we were able to get through the line fairly quickly. But there were people bum rushing to the gate and they were doing everything they could to keep the plane on the ground for as long as humanly possible. So the people that were waiting an hour could get to their plane. Now, you could argue folks should get to the airport in a reasonable amount of time. I mean, I realize you may be sitting there for an hour before your flight, but you're sitting at the place you need to be and not late, But then again, you have all these people that have children that are going, to Orlando, or they were going to Fort Lauderdale, or they were wherever they were flying into from that particular terminal, had families. So organizing all of those family things together to get where you needed to go, that's not easy. Matt's cousin has 2 kids, and they are the most reasonable, lovable kids when it comes to those kind of stressful situations. But they're still kids, and they have to have a lot of things. Luckily, they don't need strollers or car seats anymore. They're at that point where they don't need those things. But when they did need those things, it was a lot. It was a lot to watch them move about, when we went on vacation. And I always felt bad for them. But they were always happy, and they're still happy. So, I guess that's what you do when you want to have kids. You're willing to put up with all of these things to make sure the kids are comfortable, because an uncomfortable child is a screaming child. And I think you learn that really quick. Oh. And as it cools down, you get a little bit more peppermint, a little bit less of a menthol kind of sensation on your tongue, but it's tasty. Thank you for watching. We'll see what happens on Tuesday. It may be a shorty. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. We will talk to you at some point. If not next week, definitely the week after. We're only there until Sunday, and we'll be back on Sunday, so we'll definitely have stuff going on the following Tuesday when we come back, so in August. But I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you have a good kickoff to your August, and we will talk to you in a little while. But we'll be back, okay? Talk to you later. Bye!